telling you. So chapter 5 was
FMV?
Device series real?
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Why is there repeating sequence?
What? 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 One of the chapters of all time. While I have my own things to say about the chapter that really need their own video, something this chapter didn't give us was anything about the knight's identity. Like the same big three candidates are still being argued for and against in what I can only describe as the Thunderdome, known as the Deltarune theory space. So I thought, why don't I just ramble about my thoughts on the knight's identity, because it's gotten to a point where I feel like no one's the knight. It's gotten that bad. So when it comes to all the new info we got this chapter...
Hold on a moment. Didn't you declare that we've got no new information about the knight's identity?
Oh yeah, I did say that. So that's a fucking lie, by the way. All the little tidbits we got single-handedly ruined everything. Des being the knight candidate, being backed by the antlers, the bat, the guitar, the attitude, and being narratively compelling in general kind of forms a continuity error of sorts if she's assumed to be the knight. Multiple, actually. If we assume the voice in the code is Des, then how could Miss December Holiday be in two different places at the same time? And even if we assume these lines of dialogue are relayed to us from the past, thus resolving the issue, we still have the event. Hey Asgore, do you know what happened on that day?
Oh, that horrible day. That terrible tragedy. Oh, it was so terrible. It was horrible when that incident happened on that fateful day.
Asgore's vague posting is definitely one of those it makes sense narrative-wise, but I fucking hate it type beats of Deltarune. Because we came into that monologue expecting answers only to be met with vague trauma dumping. We've always assumed that the reason he was fired was to do with Des's disappearance, and that it had to do with dark worlds, or darkness of some sort. Combining that with the unused dialogue, we came to assume that Des got lost in and or enveloped by some sort of dark world. But if that's the case, then she can't be the knight, because Asgore's notes talk about a black shard that was left at the original scene. And that matches with, I'm assuming, one found at the computer lab. So if Des were to be the knight, then Des opened the fountain and then made Des disappear. See the issue? Hell, even Rousey says it doesn't make sense. I've seen people try to reason with this fucking lore drop, but all those kind of start to feel contrived to me. Which, in all fairness, all post-Chapter 5 theories feel contrived as fuck, but I just don't buy it. So if it isn't Des, then it's Carol, right? Well, she has a katana, maybe multiple. She knows a lot more than she lets on. She's pretty much confirmed to be the person who Chris was talking to in Chapter 4, and they won't be hearing otherwise. She's the mayor, so she has a larger freedom of movement. She has antlers too, so it all seems to work out. Okay, but in Chapter 4, rushing from her manor to the church before Chris and Susie get there is really weird. Alongside the fact that she would act not like that, or that, or that. She doesn't give off the type to openly taunt an aura farm like an edgy teenager. Add to that in Chapter 5, she's the one to call about Rudy's fall, which seems to have been a big enough deal for not only Stone Cold Carol to care, meaning that it likely hospitalized him or straight up left him in his deathbed, but also for Noelle to drop everything she was doing and rush back to check on her father. And sure, that really neatly explains why the night was so late this chapter, but also, she just wouldn't act like that. I can't accept it. Didn't we talk about how Rudy was likely hospitalized? So if it isn't any of those, then... Okay, no offense, but I fucking hate Kriselle Knight. So, Kriselle Knight, for those unaware, is what if the Knight was the amalgamation of Chris and Noelle after crossing the lake in the Weird Route, that reset the timeline using their determination and inserted themselves into the main route. Okay, so the theory hinges on either time loop theory or an offshoot of it to work. Aside from the game being a time loop being terrible writing, if the night is caused by our actions as a player, then why is it here on my fresh pacifist save of Deltarune? If the weird route diverges from the main route and the night shows up in the weird route, and by extension the main route, before we're about to break the game, then how the fuck is it here? This is one of those theories that sounds really peak on paper, but then falls apart when you actually decide to make it make sense. So if it's none of the likely candidates, then who is it? Why do I hear bone trousers? When all the serious options are out of the picture, the funny joke candidate starts to look more and more enticing. And sure, Papyrus is a really mysterious character in Deltarune. Sans is purposefully protecting him from us, his house appeared very recently, and you can make a very solid case about him knowing a whole lot more than he lets on in Undertale. But he's still a joke candidate. None of the little hints left for us really match up with Papyrus, and for casual players not familiar with Undertale, the Knight being this random-ass skeleton guy who never showed up beforehand seems cheap as fuck. So with all the major theories out the way...
Aren't you forgetting something?
What? Hang on. What the fuck is Asriel Knight? I think this one gets debunked by the fact that due to the Knight's amorphousness, it's safe to assume the Knight's armor isn't a suit in the traditional sense. Even though they can take off their helmet, I don't know what's up with that. But if Asriel has been the Knight for years straight at this point, then I don't think that he could keep up the college facade for that long. Also, no antlers.